So I have a project today where I need to drill some large holes in some fairly thick angle iron here. And the best tool for that is a magnetic drill press. This magnetic drill press is really neat because it solves a lot of the problem of drilling large holes in something like this that's awkward sometimes to get into a drill press. So what this does is the magnetic base here is a big electromagnet. So I can turn this magnet on or off with a switch on the other side of this drill. So as you can see right now, I can move it around and position it. And when I flip the switch on the other side, all at once now I can't. Now there's no way I can move this thing. It's completely locked down with a strong electromagnet to the metal that I'm working on. And then I can go ahead and, just like a regular drill press, I can use these handles and have all kinds of leverage to actually drill a very large hole through like 1/4 inch thick angle iron, which would be a bit of a struggle with a handheld power drill. And the other thing that's neat about these magnetic drills is that they usually use annular cutters like this. So it doesn't move near as much metal as a traditional twist drill bit does. As you can see, it just cuts a ring around the outside and leaves a center circle that'll drop out. And the other really neat feature is, as you can see, this hole goes all the way through. So what's inside of there is, this one isn't quite the right size, but it's like a center punch. So that actually is inside there and it's spring loaded. So you have a point like that. So to locate my hole that I want to drill in this piece, I just have to center drill it and have a little divot there. And then I just wiggle the drill around with this and I find that center drill divot. And then I get it lined up, make sure that it's there, and then I turn the magnet on, and I'm all perfectly lined up with my precisely located hole that I did earlier that scribed the lines and then center punched it. So it's a really cool tool. So as you can see here on this bit, right there it has that center that's spring loaded that I'm pushing on. So now I'm going to put that down into my divot here, and I turn the magnet off again. So I'm going to wiggle the drill around until I get my center right into that divot there. And it looks like I'm there. And I'm going to turn my magnet on, and I'll be ready to go. So there's the plug that came out. So you can see we didn't move as much metal as we would with the traditional drill either. Okay, so here I'm going to go ahead and start welding it together. I already had clamped and tack welded earlier. So here I'm just kind of final welding, and I'm just moving around a little bit so I don't get it too hot in one spot, because it's not overly thick metal for kind of that triangular formed sheet metal piece. That's probably about 1/8 inch thick, which is part of the reason why it failed initially. It probably just wasn't quite heavy enough for an 8-row planter, being it was a salvage toolbar from a 6-row cultivator. So here I'm just kind of breaking the slag with a chipping hammer, wire brushing in between passes, and I'm just trying to stitch it, do about 1 inch or so long bead at a time, and then flipping it over, letting one side cool down, and then just kind of going back and forth and doing that process. So what I'm doing with the torch here is I'm taking those original angle iron pieces that I cut off, and I'm cutting them apart here, and I want to reuse a portion of them to be on the other side of the toolbar holes on the bottoms of the new angle irons I made. So I'm just cutting off the portion that has the 2 holes that bolts around the planter toolbar, and I'm going to cut off basically just a little strip of metal with the 2 holes in, and that'll go on one side of the square tubing toolbar, and then the bolts will go through that and go through my new angle irons. So I'm just cutting out the strip off of each of the original angle irons there and reusing that portion. So after I got done cutting them with the torch, now what I'm doing is just taking off all the rough edges and high spots here. And I'm also going to have to grind out a little clearance here.
on both the strip that I'm using as well as the weldment. So when I finish up here, I'm going to clamp them together and then grind them both together to make sure they match. And I'm just cutting out a clearance spot for a roller chain that goes between two sprockets on the planter that gets really close to where this top link mounts to the toolbar. So I'm just cutting out a clearance spot there.
Sound stripe. Sound stripe. Sound stripe.